Yeah, that's what I thought. Not default. And it does this every time. Hey guys, welcome in. We are going to do the classic 10 minutes so that people can come in. It's been a little bit since I've streamed, so we're definitely going to give the little wait here. Mic auxiliary. I do want to make sure that this is louder, so I'm going to do... Alright. I'm bringing my microphone volume all the way up without trying to affect my gain here. Texturing not during, I mean, you can ask, but I might not be able to give you an answer, especially because I'm working on just kind of pressure today. But I do want you guys to tell me how the volume is. I'm trying to make it go high, but not too high. If this sounds weird, actually I'm gonna check it myself. Let me know. I'm gonna mute myself here in a second, but okay, it doesn't sound too bad. I'm checking it on my phone. I'm trying to make it go all the way up to the yellow, but not too much into the yellow on my audio mixer. Let's see. Yeah, I was just reading that. It's a Blender. It seems like it's a Blender problem. It depends on how you also export your mesh as well. I think that would be a Blender question, but I'm not sure. I am not as familiar with Blender. I would like to have more time to become more familiar with Blender, but that is after I finish training some new stuff. So that's why I don't really have much of an answer for you other than to just kind of double check check on the side of the Blender tutorials as well. Yeah. It might be a case of maybe you should update your Blender. I do know that the Blender's great, but the learning curve is Blender's learning curve. I haven't used it since 2.0, and I think we're on 3 point something right now. 3D Connection Space Mouse. I think I've seen that Space Mouse. I mean, if they want to give us a Space Mouse, yes. I have seen this Space Mouse, and I want it. But it's also a case of if they could give me that Space Mouse, that'd be great. But I'll share it with the team. Today we are doing like a soft kind of jump back in. Once we've hit, I do have an announcement for everybody on the stream. So once that does happen, I'm just making a bunch of like cute little kids pillows and like quilts and showing people some more set dressings specifically for bedrooms today. Just because I was talking with somebody and they just didn't understand how kind of quilting works. There's different types of quilting, so I didn't want to bring that up today. Yeah, you have 2. Yeah, I don't know 2.79. I know 2.1. I'm like, what is my Blender? Let me see. Oh yeah, no, I actually haven't installed Blender since my SSD crashed. So, yeah, it's been a bit. But today I'm going to do more pillows. You guys have seen some plushies from me in the past, but I'm going to be doing different shapes of pillows. Checking to see if Marvelous and Chloe. We are technically owned by the same company, yes, but we have different features for different industries. KLIP 50555. So there's different tools within each software package. But yeah, same umbrella company, but different software packages. We also now have another one called Ginny, with a J, Jinny. And I'm not sure if that one's on mobile or not. I think it is. I haven't had a chance to play with Ginny yet. But I do want to let you know that Marvelous Designer does not have rendering, for example, whereas Chloe does. Chloe, I believe, has a V-Ray rendering engine. Marvelous Designer does not, because most of our users tend to work in other software afterwards. Yeah, it's spelled like that. I haven't really seen much of it, other than that we finally opened up a YouTube channel. It's much more, I believe it is on mobile, but it's much more like brand new user friendly. But you don't have a lot of mesh adjusting, like a lot of mesh adjusting options. But you can adjust your style lines, which is really nice. And style lines would be like where these seams kind of are, like the lines of style and direction of things, and where they cross over the body. But if you have other questions about Marvelous Designer, I can help answer them. I can't answer too many Chloe questions because I'm not part of the Chloe team. I am from the Marvelous Designer team. So today is kind of I'm kind of doing what I want, but we can do other pillows if you want. Hi, Vanessa. I do have a set list of things I do want to make just to show how patterns are affected by pressure and like how to accommodate for that, which some people kind of were asking about in the past previously, and you've kind of seen me play around with plushies as another example for that. And I'll be making a couple of different quilts. And then if we're done with that, then maybe I can answer some questions that you guys might have in the chat, depending on how fast we go. Okay, stop being weird. My cat's just like hunched over, just staring at me with the dead eyes. Hi, honey. Oh, she's not used to me talking to people who aren't her, so she's just like, what are you doing? Go lay down. For those of you who don't know, I have like a tiny little black cat, who is very, very afraid of everything. Loki, you want to come here? Want to come say hi? Oh, thank you. Oh, she hates this. Oh, we have a little special guest today. Hi, chicken. Want to say hi? You don't talk to me ever. Hi, chicken. She's here to help. All right. She's here to run. Yeah? Well, you're going to have to wait for snack time until after the stream, okay? So, we're going to wait a couple more minutes and then we'll kind of start the discussion. I believe I've already adjusted and put all the links in the bios now, so I don't have to go through that spiel again. Oh, his name is Bud. I named her Loki because she knocked over 2 of my monitors that are mounted to the wall somehow her first night. But her real name is Chicken at this point because she's scared of everything, including me. Right, Chicken? She's Chicken. She's scaredy cat. And she's just gonna, I guess, be monitoring us from behind my filter here. Let's see. And then, do I have all of the information? And I need to remember, it's been a little bit, there is a 30-second lag between things I say and then the stream getting them. So I actually see your comments before I respond to them, even if I respond to them immediately after. Let me make sure that Discord, I can at least see Discord. Okay. It is 10 after, so for those of you who might not know, welcome. I am Megan. I am one of the community managers and 3D designers for Marvelous Designer. I'm also one of the active moderators on the Discord channel, which is linked in our bio. And if you are new to Marvelous Designer, there are tutorials also linked in the bio and in the description of these videos, depending on which platform you're on. The videos will stay up in perpetuity on the YouTube channel, but we do let them expire on the Twitch channel. And for those of you who are in the future, the software is Marvelous Designer, which is also the name of the YouTube channel. Okay? If you're asking me what the software we're using in this video, it's Marvelous Designer. So if you ask me, number one, it better be funny. Number two, you might get a snarky reply if it's me who's replying. So you've been warned. Just a heads up, because I don't know why people always ask what the software is when it's literally the name of the channel, and it's getting a little annoying. But if you make it funny, then you can ask. So today, you're feeling marvelous today. That's great. Today I'm doing some pillows. We're going to cover pressure, basics of pressure again. I do want to let everyone know who might be new to the software and the YouTube channel. We're making an official announcement later, but all of September, we're going to have 3 streams in September, and they are going to be a little bit of a different type of a stream this time around. So we'll have a full announcement with a full list. I'm going to give everyone information on the Discord channel in the next day or two. And it will be in an email blast. So we are having a kind of, you can think of it like a workshop. It's a follow along style of a live stream. You guys have seen these live streams. They are just me either doing something that I want to do, or I'm answering questions, or we're going over things that people have discussed in the Discord or online that they've had trouble with. But for those of you who are new to the software, we do kind of have older tutorials that I do always recommend that you follow because they do have the same applicable concepts. But I will be doing a different style of stream, which is a follow-along style beginner tutorial stream in the next all of September. So I will be doing, I'll give you guys all the information about it, but it'll be a like follow-along beginner, here's how to get started working in Marvelous Designer. And you guys will have, we'll give you links and assets that you can use that I'll be using, or at least very similar assets for those tutorials. So you can follow along, ask questions, and it'll be a little bit of a different style of stream for especially new users to Marvelous Designer and people who want to get started making clothes in Marvelous Designer. But today I'm not doing that. So that's a little announcement. That'll be the entire kind of theme of September is kind of newer level, new user kind of level, beginner level tutorials. But let's get started with this one. So today I'm working on some set pieces. You might see them in the future in some things, you might not. I'm going to be making a bunch of different pillows and quilts. And I might just throw them on one of our base assets, which is the little bed frame here. So today I'm making some like little kid pillows. It'll actually be really cute. So to get started, I'm going to cover what pressure is and how it works before I even make anything. So we did have an update. So these are, you can see here, let me cut this out. You can see here the hotkeys, which is the H hotkey, S and E for ellipse. In the update that recently happened, if you haven't updated your version of Marvelous Designer yet, if they have hotkeys, there's little hotkeys to the letters to the right. That's on your keyboard. So with pressure, positive pressure, let me do it this way. W hotkey to create pins. So if I select my pattern, so selecting my pattern, going down to the property editor, simulation properties for the pattern itself that is selected, you have a pressure option. 0 is right in the middle. So pressure is in the direction of, again, of the normal. So if I create a positive pressure, that's really far. Let me do less. We'll do 5. It's going to be pushing against the flipped normal and towards the normal. So let me just do that. Whee! And it's spinning. And if I do negative pressure, it's going to do the same, but go in the opposite direction. So if I want to create a generic square pillow, for example, I can't really do it with just one, because we can't have opposing. You can't have a pillow without an opposing force. If I have a -5, it's going to go see its people. Its people need it. My people need me. I must go. But if I create 2 and sew them together, and I'll show you the preferred way after this. I am doing this the hard way just so people can see. I also realize these are huge, but that's fine. So this front one, I'm going to make it a +5, and this back one, I'm going to make it a -5. So they are creating opposing forces. One's pushing out this way, and one's pushing out this way. This is a giant pillow, just so you know. This is as big as a person. This is like a big beanbag pillow. Whee! So we've created our pillow here. One side does have the flipped normal. If you did want to have this, have the normal on both sides, you can flip the normal for the back, but remember that you do need to have opposing forces going from within the object, so I would have to make that a +5 to keep this item inflated. Whee! Okay. So today I'm making a bunch of little kids stuffy, like little pillows. So we don't have to do a square, obviously. We can do an ellipse. I'm also going to be doing a very crazy shaped one. So we're going to do the easy ones first. And then I'm going to be doing an internal line, an internal ellipse, in fact. And yes, you can have your internal line go outside of it, but it doesn't always work out well. So just keep that in mind. This also doesn't have to be perfect. I can align these items. Selecting both. Sometimes I can't. Oh no, I have to do it with an external line. Can't do it that way. So that's fine. I'm just eyeballing this. I'm making my crescent moon bigger than I need it to be because I am needing to account for the pressure. And I can always change the shape later. Cut. And now I'm going to do this the correct way, or the easier way, for creating a pillow, for example. If I wanted any internal lines here, any quilting, if this was pretty flat, I would do this now on this one layer, but I don't need to. So I'm going to choose layer. You can choose layer clone over or under. It's up to you. So I've done layer clone over. For me, just to remember, I'm just going to place it above in my 2D window. So what I did again, I've chosen the layer clone and I chose over. And by doing that, when you use layer clone, you are applying sewing to every single segment and internal line that is in that shape. So you can see though, it is the same direction. So if I really wanted this to have my normal going the other direction, I would need to flip this normal. And I would need to take into account the direction of the pressure as well. So I'm going to flip this normal. It's going to flip this in the 2D window. And then for both of these, I can have positive pressure. So if I just chose 5, I just realized how big this is again. Whee! You can also have pressure off, but I like to have the pressure on. Or the pressure off, the gravity off. All right, I'm going to make this smaller. So I'm just making it smaller by selecting it with the transform pattern tool, and I'm just going to shrink it to about 50% its original size. And reset 3D arrangement, and then bring these back down. Because I definitely don't need it to be that big. I'm trying to stay out of the way. There we go. So this is only 5 pressure, so let's just do like 20. And you can see in my 2D window compared to my 3D window, it looks a little bit more like how you would expect like a little toy kid's moon to look, just because of the pressure that's here. It is causing it to warp, so you do need to account for the direction of that that shape being manipulated by that pressure. I do have some interesting little points here, but I think that's just coming from these pieces being segment points. If I want to remove that, I can do so just by right-clicking and converting to curve point, and that'll fix that. And I'll do that to these pieces as well. Oops, don't accidentally move anything. And since they are still linked, they're not symmetrically linked, I can just convert these to curve points. Yay! There's my moon. It's a little sharp on the ends, so I might use the smooth curve tool here just to eyeball it and make these less sharp points. There we go. I'm converting that centerpiece to a curve point, and then I can also just manipulate the shape. Indian sari. People have already made tutorials for that. For saris specifically. On YouTube even. So I would recommend you take a look at that. Because that is a lot of pleating and folding in the software. It depends on how you want to do it. So I would take a look at that as well. And if I don't want that, I can also just make this go back to being a point. There we go. So this will also change how the fabric simulates if I choose different materials. So I'm going to reset my layout here. Go to fabric, and I'm just going to bring in a cotton. I'm going to make this list here. You could do fur. I mean, we don't have a fur render, but these are from Clo, so if you have V-Ray, you could render those assets there. I'll grab some fleece, just because they are going to simulate differently, just so we can see the difference here. So I just hit Control A, and I'm going to apply the Sherpa fleece. Just turning on the high quality render. We have the texture, but we don't have the thickness just because we don't have a rendering engine. When I simulate, this is much stretchier and has a little bit more elasticity. So it is going to warp the shape a bit as well. So taking that into account. If I apply the cuddle fur, this is actually like has a fur texture in real life or in the render, but we can't see it here just because this is not a rendering engine. This is for simulation. We can see that this completely changed. And then we'll just do the cotton Oxford. It has even less stretch, but we will get more wrinkles here, as we can see. So I don't know which one I want to keep. We're just gonna throw the cuddle fur on there just for funsies. And I'll just change the color. I don't like that color. We're gonna, oh god. Alright. We'll do a darkish purple moon just for now. Just so you saw the pressure. That was kind of the point for this moon. And I do want to fix these points because this just caused me a problem. I'm going to bring this back to being a curve. Okay, I'm just going to save this as a, not as a project, but I'm going to save this as a garment just because I don't really need to do anything else here. Let's see. I'm just going to throw it here. I don't know why I'm throwing it there, but it's going there. Okay. So I've got a little moon. Let's do... Oh, I should grab the thing. Do I want to do that? Do I want to do 3D or 2D? 2D, I think. Okay, we're gonna do 2D. I will be honest, I will be right back. I drank way too much water before this stream. I will be right back. Will be right back, sorry. I promise I will be right back. I just need to use the restroom. All right, sorry about that. I had a headache, and so I had like 2 cups of water, like 2 large glasses, so that's what I get. I'm gonna cut this from the stream later. All right. So I'm gonna be doing we'll do a 2D one, and then we'll do a 3D one. Yeah, thanks, Vanessa. Sorry about that. It's a pretty not lazy. It's a pretty simple tutorial stream here. Just because we do have the beginner tutorials coming up in September that I did prepare for, they will have downloadable assets for people to use. So, for example, I will have a pattern out for pants that people will need to trace for like the 3rd of all of the streams. But I'm going to be making we're going to do another easy one, and then I'll make a more complex one. So I'm going to do a little spaceship here. Do I want to just trace a photo of a spaceship? I could also just draw one. I mean, a spaceship is easy. We all know what a spaceship looks like, right? And then I'll be doing a bit of a crazier polygon puzzle. Let's actually do the polygon one. So I'm making a 5-sided piece here, and this is going to be really fun, as in very difficult. Oops. Edit pattern. I'm actually going to be making a 5-sided polygon, convert to curve point. I'm using a circle to be able to do this. So I'm going to choose the split option, and then uniform split to 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Okay. This way I don't actually have to measure or do any math to make sure that my 5 sides are the correct length. And then I will be doing an internal polygon, or internal line tool here. So I'm just actually going to put it between all of these. You could have brought in a shape to trace as well, but this way is a little bit faster for me. Cut and sew. Don't know why I did that. So now we have the 5-sided shape here. This one I'm going to be creating a very crazy pillow. You could also consider using this for like paper molding as well, for those of you who do use paper, like Marvelous Designer for creating paper. We've done that before. So what I am going to do is also split this single one, uniform split 2, and then I'm going to hold shift to create a straight line in any of these directions I want, but I'm going up this way. I'm going to create a point here, and then I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out. Cut and sew. Now to make this easier, I'm going to, still pretty big, rotate this. And right click, 1 for each side, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I will rotate them to be parallel with each of their sides. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I will show you how to do it if you wanted it to be perfect. Because these triangles are not equilateral triangles that I have made here. So what I'm going to do here is rotate parallel to. So I'm selecting the line that I'm making it parallel to, and I'm selecting the line that is becoming parallel. Is this correct? Is this the right one? Show line lengths. 504, okay. They're not perfect triangles. Okay, that's gonna be annoying, but that's fine. It's fine. Rotate. And I'm just doing that to all of them, because I'm going to be basically copying and pasting this finished shape to create our final shape. rotate parallel to, pop up, and then creating my sewing relationship. I am going to freeze this one, and then for all of these, I'm going to apply a value pressure of 20. This one is going the opposite direction, and I do want to keep it that way, so I'm going to make this one -20. I think I actually need to do it the other way. 20, and then these need to be -20. Trying to remember which direction I want this to go. Woohoo! A little bit of a better work process would be to not let that happen. I'm just going to hit Control-Z, right-click, superimpose side, and then simulate. So they are going in the incorrect direction. That's okay. I'm just going to pull them apart. So it is showing me that it's working the right direction. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish sewing them together. And invert selection, push away. Okay, there we go. And I'm just gonna flip my normal because I'm lazy. Make this 20. Okay. So I do need more length here. So that means I do need to rotate these guys back. I was going to merge them all at the end, but I'm going to have to do this step first. Hi, Fredo! And this one I can do align, bottom, select. Again, I can fix this by right-clicking, rotate, x-axis, and selecting this bottom piece as my x-axis. Rotate, x-axis. So this could also work for paper lanterns if you wanted to do that as well. This one I'm just choosing a 5-sided spike here. Now that they're all going in the same direction, again, align bottom. Grab, then hold shift, and there we go. There we go. When it's not selected, it looks better. So this is warping just because of the material I've chosen. Watch what happens when I apply the cotton Oxford instead. This will be far straighter of a line. There is another thing that we can do as well. I will do that in a minute after I've solidified this shape down here. Uh, 753.3. Change length. Let's see. It's still going to do that no matter what I do. And that's okay. It's close enough. And it's okay for things to be imperfect. So this does have a little bit of a weird point going on at the tip of this triangle, just because this is still 20 particle distance. So what I'm going to do now is this is going to become that master repeated pattern piece. So I am going to, just because I didn't want to figure out the shape, I'm going to be a little lazy. I am going to see if I can shift this over at all. It's still the closest. It's still really close. Okay. I know it's a little angled, but we can also show you, I can also show you something different too. with how to use that to your advantage if you want in your designs. So to make this easier, I am going to merge these pattern pieces all together. If I didn't want to figure it out, this is how I can do it. Then I can, if I didn't want to do the math, I should say. I'm going to merge these using the Edit Sewing tool. Merge. And then merge. So it becomes about a half circle. It's not always perfect. It really depends on the size and the length of your lines here. But I will reapply those internal lines. And there's a reason. And I'm only having to do this the one time. This is also why I'm doing this this first time. So I have my fold angles, and I have the last one, which is that sewing relationship. Hello, welcome from Mexico. So if I want my fold angle, I'll do it the visual way here. So this is a full line here. They're all going to go in the same direction, and that's why I did this. You can just have them be single lines, but this is a little more efficient for the reason I'm doing this. I can move my fold angle, and you can see here, this goes up to the 300s. So this is going to make the 300s become an indent. You'll also see that the color turns blue in the 2D window. So I'm going to just do that to show you. And it, come on. It gets mad because I've just made a huge change to a lot of this pattern. Yeah, I know. Come on. If it could, it would have an indent right here. Let's see if I can zoom in. Because of the pressure, it's not letting it. But if I do the opposite, which is what I'm wanting to do, it will give me a nice folded crease. So the opposite is going to give me a red line. So if I, for example, gave this strength, so I just hit Control H, and we can see here that it's creating this little bit of a fold here. So watch if I do it the other direction. It's wanting to go inwards, but I do want it to have like that little nice crease. So we started with the basic kids, like, you know, moon pillow, and now we're going up to this. So we do have this last line here that doesn't have that crease, and that is because this is a sewing line. So I can't use the same method that I did, but I can select the line with my sewing tool, my edit sewing tool. It's the edit one here with the B hotkey. And then I can choose my fold angle. You can also choose turned. I always like to check the fold angle to make sure it's 0, at least in this case, just to keep it all consistent. And now I have that crease. Now that I have made this, I'm going to put them kind of next to each other here. This is the reason why, I'm going to move that, Control A. This is the reason why I made one and completed the one. Now we're going to create a ball using these pieces, but we'll be doing them all at once to make it a little bit faster. Because now I don't have to worry about the simulation and making sure that this all sews correctly together. I just have to worry about these little polygons here. Just to make it a little easier on myself and for everyone visually here, I'm going to do this, let me do it that way. I'm going to do this visually before I let them all kind of collapse to each other. Just so for those of you who are new, who don't know what's going on, you can see what's happening. So I'm going to be building this in 3D on this side here. And I keep hitting the 10 key. I'm going to grab all these, actually rotate them. And then we're going to do another one. And I am also Control-Cing and Control-Ving in the 3D window. You'll see sometimes I place it in the 3D window, sometimes I'm placing it in the 2D window. Same thing can be said for sewing. So I just hit the sewing hot tool N. So this is segment sewing. And I can just sew these segments together. Now the one thing that this is doing and that it will mess up is if I want to remove these these little polygons here, I would have to redo all of my sewing, which is fine. But that is just something to take into account if that's not what you're if that's going to mess up your work. So all of these are there. So I'm going to go ahead and simulate. Yes, they're mad. Give it a second. And they don't want to go that way. They don't want to go into the ball shape that they will become, but it's fine because I did this before. Simulate for me. Again, it's mad. Give it a second. So I did want to do this example again because we have a couple of new people. Doing it that way does cause a bit of a collision issue. I'm just going to hit Control-Z here for a minute. There we go. So finish setting all your sewing lines together, and then I'm actually going to put them all together. So again, I just hit the N hotkey and I'm going to sew it in the 3D window. So I'm sewing them to each other because they still all have pressure that's opposing. And to make life a little easier, just so you guys can see what's going on, I'm going to do this. You don't have to do this if you're following along. I'm deactivating my pattern in my sewing. And then I am going to deactivate pressure just on these pieces. And I am letting it fly in. There it goes. So this will create, this looks weird, but it will create the first half of the little ball that we're going to make. Well, that I'm making. So I'm making the interior shape, which is going to be a ball. Come on. Show everybody for me. That will then have all of these points coming out of the ends. It's a little mad just because these pieces are colliding with each other. That's okay. I'll give it a little pressure. Nope. So what does make this a little bit easier is that I can just go right ahead and Control A. It looks scary. It'll be okay, I promise. Control A, Control C, Control V. I've copied everything on the other side. It looks scary. It'll be fine, I promise. This is also huge. Probably don't do it as big as I've just done this. And I'll clean up my 2D window. But again, we're going to go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and sew these to each other here. And at least start one of these. Yeah. Calm down. This is slow just because I did not make the scale the correct size. I made this very large. And then we're just going to go ahead. I'm doing this in 3D just because it's a little easier for me to see how it's working. Okay. You can have other ways to work. This seems to be the one that works for most people who don't know exactly how it's going to be put together. And I'm making sure to match my lines here. Then double click to finish. And then we're not going to turn everything on all at the same time. That would cause the problem that I showed earlier. And we don't want to experience the lovely sharp, angry mess. So we will do them one at a time with all the points once we're done. Come on. Don't cross. And I'm just doing this very slowly just so I can make sure that I'm not creating any, I'm not missing anything. This looks like it's being held together like by like strings. Just because of how I've done the sewing. And then last one. Okay, I'm not going to do the last one yet. Okay. Last one. And then I will apply pressure. 20. Just so we can kind of get the ball shape going and you can see what's going on. Okay, it looks weird just because I've been pulling at it and the pressure is not consistent. Let me grab this. I'm gonna make this into that ball shape just so you guys can see it. Control K. And we'll give it its shape back. I'm going to turn off gravity. So I'm choosing simulation properties for the 3D workspace, and I'm making gravity 0. So we do have our little bones here, a little ball structure. It's a little bit easier for me, just so I know exactly what's going on, because I know exactly what's going to be sewing where. You can remove the orb underneath. You don't have to. So I'm going to choose activate, and then I could again let this simulate on top of it. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do superimpose over, and then let it simulate. Come here. I'm actually going to do it this way. Freeze, and then re-deactivate all of these. Control J to activate and deactivate. I'm going to activate this one. Superimpose side. I'm gonna try superimpose side. I'm also gonna give it a higher layer value because the layers are also determined by the normal's direction. So while it's slowly creeping up, it'll figure itself out here in a second. And this is just quite slow just because I have it at such a large scale. But because I chose to do that and I didn't fix it, that's my problem. Layer 1, and I'm making sure this is not inside of this item. And then I can do activate. And it'll go right back in. There it goes. Now that that one's stable, I'm going to freeze it. I'm just going to give this 50. Come on, sort yourself out. Do notice this is a pillow. I've said this was going to be a pillow, but it's also larger than a person. So don't make it larger than a person, but I'm just kind of stuck with it for now. Activate. You have a couple of ways. So you've seen me do 2 different ways. Again, I'm going to give this a layer value of 1. I'm going to freeze this other piece. And this is already in its shape. It still kind of flings in there, though. And superimpose over. 1. Activate and pull it up. So as you can see, I did also do this one on purpose. It's slower because I'm doing both at the same time, and instead of doing just the one at a time. And applying more pressure does help. I'm trying to like hide so you can see it. Like now I'm really sure. There we go. But mostly the slowness is coming from this being 2 stories tall. The average thing you're going to be working on is not going to be about 2 stories tall. But I don't want to mess with it right now, so we're going to do it this way. I'm going to select all of these for now. Actually, that's fine. Superimpose over. They are frozen. Give it a layer value of 1. Because then this will be done, and then I can kind of show you the different materials too. And how to adjust the shape of something that you've already finished. Okay, I'm going to activate this one. I'm going to freeze these guys. Actually going to deactivate them. Just to make this a little faster for us. And I'm just going to pull it. Come here. There we go. Another thing you can do if you're impatient with other items, this is actually a good example of troubleshooting. If your methods don't work, you can always try this as well, is resetting the 2D or 3D arrangement. So I'm going to choose 3D arrangement. Oops, I don't want to select them both. Reset a 3D arrangement. And then you can also just give this a try. It will fly out because of the pressure, which kind of is annoying in this case, so we're not going to do that. I'm going to give this 0 pressure if we're going to do it that way. Where are you? Hide. Where'd you go? There it is. That's interesting. Reset 3D arrangement. Thank you. 0 pressure, and then we'll go in. And this one is going in slowly. Again, this is because I have made this very, very large. But we'll do this for now, just for the sake of getting this item done. And resets, activates, reset 3D arrangements. And make sure that if you were to do it this way, that there is no pressure. On both of those items. As you saw, they were flying away. And I'll do 2 at once just because it is a little bit faster. And I do still have gravity off. And we're finally almost done with this crazy shape. Come here, you little brat. And I'm just going to give that 50 pressure, or 50, 50, 50, please. Okay, only a couple more. Activate. Resets 3D arrangements. That's fine. I should not have made this so big. Goodbye! And there's still pressure on it. It's exactly what I get. That's exactly what I get for putting pressure on it and then still activating it. We're going to pause it for a second. Otherwise, I'm just going to open the file and show you what it looks like done, because you've seen it. Trying to give it a chance here. It's just very angry at me for doing it this way. I mean, it's exactly what I deserve. It's exactly what I get. Because once this is sewn together, then I'm just going to make it not that. And I'm leaving this one as it is, just so we can see. So those are all the different ways to actually work with your items in the 3D window in case you're troubleshooting issues like that. All of these are going to get 20 particle distance again. Or 20 pressure again. And then I'm going to just kind of yank at it. Since I've done that, I'm going to open up the smaller one while this is happening. You can shrink it to make it smaller just in the 2D window, but it does affect where this exists in the 3D space. So I've shown you how to put it together. Don't make it this big. I did not measure mine at all. So I'm actually going to go ahead and open what it looks like when we're done. So here's actually what it looks like when we're finished. This is the 5-sided polygon. So this is what it looks like when you don't make it the size of a house. And we'll give it a simulate for a second here. This actually has no weight to it. So let me grab my fabric. I'm going to just grab this one. So I'm just going to choose Cotton Oxford, select all, and apply this. So this, previously, a second ago, what you saw didn't have density. This now has density. And that's why it was kind of floating in the air. So this is the same thing. It's just different lengths of lines, basically. And because it has density, it is there is weight to it, so it's causing all of those wrinkles on the bottom. And it's not holding itself up. So if I did want this to actually still hold itself up, I could select my fabric. So let's just say this is very this is a plush item, but it's very, very overstuffed. I can go down to my physical properties and I have presets. But if I select the preset drop-down option, I can adjust my physical property, like my stretch, weft, and warp, my shear, my bend, weft, and warp, bias, buckling, things like that. In this case, I'm going to choose my density. I can also adjust friction, but I'm just going to choose density, and I'm just going to make it like 1, a value of 1. And now it's going to start popping back up. Because it was so dense, it wasn't working. Or it was causing that wrinkle. As you can see, now it's actually coming back up here. I do have gravity on, I believe. Let me make sure. Yeah, there is gravity in this scene. This guy's jumping up and then he's going to come back down. But he is very, very light. Clicking away, we can see he's starting to come back down to earth now. So if I actually wanted to, I'm going to keep simulating, but I did want to get some wrinkles out of this, right? There's a couple of ways to do that if I actually want to get wrinkles out of this guy. I can just reduce the pressure. I believe those don't have pressure, but these do. So I can just make this pressure, let's just say 15, because he now has like 0, almost 0 density. So let's make pressure, we'll make pressure 10, and it's going to drastically change how this is acting. Because these all have no pressure. So he will now be a lot easier to affect and deflate. But let's just say you didn't want that. So I'm showing you guys a bunch of different pressure here specifically just to make it easier. You've created this item. There's another thing you can do. I'm gonna distribute this a little bit more cleanly. Distribute horizontally, yeah. We're gonna do it this way. Because I'm going to be creating an entire layer over it, and I don't want to deal with that. Because this is about to get a little bit more dense of a file. I'm not going to simulate it, but I will show you how you can have this as your bones, and then you can have a layer over it. Like, yes, it's pillows, but it's also this guy. So there's one more thing I'm going to do with this one, and then I will go on to the easier things, which would be like quilts. So I'm going to do a, do I want to do a layer cloud? just going to do... No, I'm not going to do that. Layer clone. We'll do layer clone. I was like, there's a bunch of different ways to do this. I can have them all sew to each other. So these layer clones are actually all sewn to each other. So we're going to do it this easy. This is probably the easiest way. So each piece is above is connected to the one below it. So I'm actually going to remove linked editing, and then I'm going to select all of these while they're still selected. I'm going to grab them all, right click, and I'm going to make them like 102% bigger. I don't want just the width. I want all of this to be slightly larger. Okay, come here. Because while they're linked, it would apply to both, so I don't want it to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and right click. There it is, 102, and height is 102. Just making it slightly larger. So before we do anything else, these are all sewn to the layer that they're underneath. And they also have pressure. So I'm going to remove this pressure. And I'm going to give this one still that 20 pressure. And this is why I lined them up, to make it a little bit easier. So this is now slightly larger, and it's sewing into something that is smaller. Here's where I can get a bunch of wrinkles, even... Oh, these are also dense particle distance too. So we'll give this a second to figure itself out. It's a little angry. In fact, I'm going to help it along. You saw me work with layers before. This, again, is going to have a layer of 1, and I'm going to make sure everything below it does not have any layer value. I might have to reduce I might have to bring up the particle distance value again, just for the sake of this. I'm just going to freeze this for the sake of the stream here. I'm freezing the item underneath it, and so these pieces on top can simulate with a lot faster. And I will make them 20 particle distance just to get it set up. Come here, you. 20, thickness, weft, and warp. Okay. Sort yourself out for me. So just for the sake of this, we can see that it is much looser. So I'm not letting this whole piece simulate right now, just for you all to see what this looks like. I'm going to give this negative pressure. So I'm going to give this -5 so that I can have this, let's see, do I want -5? It doesn't have too much. But if I reduce my particle distance, in fact, I'm going to do this. Okay, that's deactivated. And then I'm just going to hide this. Then that one still has 20. Okay. Simulate that one for a second. Okay. So the layer below it is frozen, just for the sake of speed here, because I'm also using my CPU to stream. So I'm reducing the particle distance of the upper layer just so we can get more of those wrinkles. Because I also have a negative force going against this normal. And there's a lot going on in this scene. But all of these lines are still sewn to the items beneath them. So now I do have something that looks a lot more like a stuffed item that has an unequal distribution of batting or of pressure. Whereas with the layer below it, it does have an equal distribution of pressure. So this way I can get some wrinkles and stuff. And here's where you can start adjusting your wrinkles. I've covered adjusting wrinkles and specifying exactly where you want your wrinkles to be in the accessories tutorial, or the accessories stream. So this is where you can get that look out of. So you can even have specifically engineer these wrinkles. Again, these are a negative pressure against a positive pressure. It is frozen, so if you do want to have this actually simulate, take your pressure, your opposing pressures into account. So if I did have this activate, this upper layer is -5, so the total pressure going out from the center would technically be 15 instead of 20. So bring up your pressure for the lower item just to accommodate for that difference. But you've seen me create the shape. I did promise one other thing, I guess. I'm gonna remove these just so I can show you the shape. Which one are you? Okay, I'm gonna do it to this one. Let's just say you wanted this piece to not be a perfect pyramid here. You wanted it to be a spiral. Well, honestly, because of these shapes, though, it makes it a little bit easier. You could just literally do this. At least for the internal lines. Funny enough. The only one you have to actually work on is the exterior lines. That's fine though. Just make sure your lines aren't covering each other too much. I'm gonna hit Control H for this. So if you wanted this to actually have that corkscrew shape, you could. And to accommodate for this one here, the main difference is that I'm gonna have to account for that change, at least in the line length. 4.7 3.6. Try to make it as accurate as I can. 4.7 3.5. That's gonna be the closest we can get. This also applies to skirts and other clothing items. So having your design lines laid out after you've completed your final main silhouette or your fit, you can apply this same concept to those items as well. So this is just another example. It's if you wanted something a little bit more complex than what was already made, you can do that. Starting out simple and making things a little bit more complex after you're done. I know it's the most comfy, spiky pillow ever, and it's got a spiral, super comfy. But it's actually kind of cool once you collapse it, as you kind of saw. But this is how you can kind of create a three-dimensional shape, not just a flat pillow, because it can be a bit boring. So that is done. We're going to do a new file. No, I'm not saving this. I've already made it just in case I had that problem. Let's see how small this one is. He's so tiny. That's okay. Don't know why he came in so small, but I can scale this up. I'm just creating this little bed frame here. Let's see if I can. Saw a spiky egg pillow. No, that's fine. Did I want to just make... It is the Z project. I don't want to deal with that. I'm just going to create... I don't know why the bedspread is so tiny. I wanted to show the bed. That's fine. I will submit that as a bug report. So I am going to do just a little bedspread here. I did a moon earlier, so I guess I'll do like a little space theme with the crazy spiky star. Again, so this is, we're working with pressure again, so I'm going to do the same thing I've done before. Oops. But as you saw, oh, little artifact. I'm going to cover quilts just a little bit here. So, like you saw before, do your internal lines and your design lines first. So, a lot of people have done like the square tutorials. I'm looking at the tutorials that we've had. So, I'm going to show you how to do, like, you can do concentric circles if you wanted. So, I'm choosing an internal line here, and I'm making an internal shape. I'm putting it in the center. And I'm just going to do the same thing that you've done with the diamonds with the squares. I'm actually just going to choose offset as internal line, reverse direction, because this isn't an actual using the lines in between each piece. Spiky egg yolk pillow. Now I want to know why you think it looks like an egg yolk. So I'm just going to show you what different quilting styles and distances does to your pressure. So I'm choosing 50 millimeters, and I'm just going to do a bunch of offsets here. Apparently I've angered Marvelous Designer. There we go. And I'm going to do those offsets until I hit the edges. Why? How many instances am I running? No, okay. I'm not running too many. I'm just going to select OK. It's not to the edge, but I can continue that line. Trying to figure out if my reference images are causing my problem or not. Okay, there we go. And they definitely were. Something was just consuming so much of my CPU. Okay. Again, I'm just going to finish this. It's mad at me. I know. I'm also going to hide this. Maybe that'll do it. Let's try 3, not 13. 3 is good. And then right-click, I am locking all my pattern outlines, selecting all my internal lines, right-clicking them, it does look like a Zen garden. I don't know why it is slowing down suddenly. Trying to figure out if it's just, I just have a bunch of photos of Google up, so I don't know why it's mad. So I'm choosing add point to intersection, and I will have to delete all of the lines that are outside of that. So we'll give it a second. This is the most complex one that I'm going to show you just for the sake of just showing crazy shapes. So I'm just going to select that center point because I don't need it anymore. And so this is also why I'm doing everything first on this first layer. Just for the sake of it. I guess we'll do... I'm just going to keep it a plain circle. Like, you can have some sort of artifact in here if you want. We'll throw a moon in here. Offset as internal line. We'll just do it once. And I'm going to do the opposite way of creating moon that I've done before. Edit pattern, I don't want any of these to be, delete all curve points. I'm holding D, by the way, when I'm doing this. So at least it's some sort of a curve. And then I'm going to convert this one to a curve point. It's not perfect, it's not pretty, but it's just for the sake of the... I'm putting something in the middle. There we go. We have our beautiful silly moon. So as you saw before, because I've done this design now, I'm going to simulate it just so it falls to the floor. Beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and select this whole piece. And we're going to do the same thing we've done before. It does look like Pac-Man hell. I'm going to choose the layer clone over again. And the reason I've done this is because it does create the sewing relationship between all of my internal lines. So I don't have to do that a second time, and I don't have to worry about anything else other than making sure that this actually has pressure. So I'll give this one, I'm going to give this a high value of pressure just because there is a lot here. 50, and then I'm going to do this one at negative 50. If they're not the same opposing forces, by the way, it might cause it to actually just fly up into the moon itself. So this is 20 particle distance. I do have a lot of dense lines in here. And this is a very high pressure. So because it is inconsistent in the center, as you can see, it is causing that, that simulation to look funny. It doesn't look like a quilt should. I can strengthen it on both sides to give it a little bit of assistance. Hey, don't move. It's trying to fly away. Don't let it fly away if it does. This is an example. So because of the pressure, you can see there is a difference in the amount of pressure that is being applied to the center compared to the sides. The only reason I did this at such a high value is specifically just so we can see it. I'm going to remove strengthening from the bottom there, or from the what we can see. So we don't want 50 on both sides. But this is just an example of, like, the more pressure you have, the more pressure and force you're going to be applying to your pieces. So long as they're consistent, they're not going to move too much. But in the center, as we saw, it did kind of fly up, and it does have a lot more pressure there. Specifically because it does. There's just more force being applied to it, and there's more momentum from the center. But if I did, let's just say, I'm going to flip this normal. They're already sewn together, so we're good. this one, lock internal lines. I'm just going to make it easier for myself. 50. So we're just going to do 20 and 20 because now they're both going the same direction. We have my normals are going in the same direction now. We're still going to encounter that issue, but it is going to be, you know, not 50, so it is less difficult to work with. But we still have that bit of a problem. Let me adjust the fabric presets. I'm just going to choose cotton chambray because a quilt will be made of cotton. Again, because these are not all consistent, this is what we're seeing. And let me prove it by doing lock all pattern outlines. Unlock internal. Okay. So I'm going to delete our lovely moon. Oops. And we'll finish these concentric circles. If it lets me. But now because I do not have the sewing in place with these, I do need to sew them together. Oops. And keep an eye on the direction of your notches as well. They should be the same and consistent, but just keep an eye on it. These are the little notches I'm referring to. And as you can see, it has stabilized a little bit. Because it is a circle, that's what it's trying to do, and it's not the same exact shape and size. Because it does have it ending on the edges. So just for the sake of it, if you really wanted to use this and have it be your quilts, we can do it this way. Control A, Control H, and then both of them. There we go. And there, if you really wanted concentric circles like this, you could easily do that. I am going to, I guess I'll just save this. Save as garments, circle quilt. Now you could do this to with any shape as well. So we'll just do diamonds just so you guys can see what it looks like. Lock, okay, my pattern outlines are locked. I'm going to delete all my internal lines. Unlock pattern outlines. I'm going to just go ahead and delete that again, just so I can make this a little bit faster. I'm going to just do straight lines. We'll do diamonds to make it really fast. Edit pattern tool, I've made a diagonal line. I'm not making it perfect. Offset as internal line. Reverse my direction. I'm going to make this 100. We're going to do 200 at least. Whatever. Bop, 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 bop. Until it crosses over. So we'll do 9. Extend, trim, and add point to pattern outline. Now I can do this with my lines just because I did not make an internal shape. Extend and trim to pattern outline. Then I can just lock my pattern outlines, right click, copy, Control R is the hotkey for reverse paste. Marvelous Designer does not have a rendering engine inside of it. Clo, our sister software, does have a V-Ray rendering engine inside of it. Marvelous Designer exclusively does not, at least for now, have a rendering engine inside, just because a lot of our users want to use their own rendering engine, Arnold, their own V-Ray, 3ds Max, not 3ds Max. I can't remember the other one. They already most likely have and most often have their own rendering engine, so they would bring that and export it out of Marvelous Designer and render it there. Pattern outline. So now I've made my internal shape here, unlocking my pattern outline. Here I'm going to do it again, layer clone over, and then I'm going to flip this normal. Yeah, if you want to make, I don't know what MX pants are. If you want to actually render it, you can even render it in Blender. It just depends on your rendering engine. That is also why the two software packages have different price points. Marvelous Designer exclusively does not have a rendering engine because people have not wanted it. So if you want to actually render something, use another software package if you already have it, or if you are creating actual garments for real life production and you want a rendering engine and all of those other options, you can check out Quilt 3D. And I'm just going to choose this one and again flip my normal. So they are opposing forces again. They both have 20. And simulate. Oh, I don't need this to be strong. And I can probably just get away with a 5 pressure value on this one. Whee! And again, this is also 20 particle distance. So with this less complex one, let's do 10 particle distance. You know, I bet I can even get less. If you don't want it to be this puffy, let's just try 2. It's slow, but you can kind of see it. This is also not the fabric we would really be working with, so let me just grab a cotton. The reason I'm picking cotton is because most of the time quilt's going to be made out of cotton. The cotton Oxford is the closest to the quilting cotton. You could also do cotton sateen. But that is the reason I've just chosen the cotton. You can do satin as well. But most of the time, a quilt is going to be made of cotton. Control A and apply. There we go. And if I really wanted this to be a little bit more stable, you saw me strengthening my the edges. I can also do the same thing kind of with the seam tape here. Just because I've put a lot of lines on this, it's going to cause me a little bit of a headache applying all of them, but I'll show you really fast if I can. I'm going to do it. Lock pattern, lock all my internal lines. Now it'll be a little faster. So we can use seam tape, or the other option is to use my select tool, oops, and don't move it while you're doing this. If you want to keep it, you know, square. Apply seam tape. It'll help stabilize it. And then I can also, since I've done that, another way to do this is to remove, apply seam tape or remove seam tape. You can also apply elastic and make it a value of 100%. And it'll, depending on what you're working with, it will hold it in place and prevent it from shrinking. If that's what you want, like, not to happen. So it is slowly pushing this out. This is 10 particle distance, so it is taking a bit of time. But as you can see, because I applied the elastic value, it also kept it pretty straight on the edges. And I'm pulling at it, as you can see. There's another... I'm looking at quilting shapes off at the left, like kind of freehand quilting. Because you can really do any kind of shape for creating these puffs. Because you also don't need a lot of pressure. Let's turn that off. Unlock internal lines. Lock pattern outlines. I'm trying to think. Okay, we'll do one other thing. Okay, pattern outlines. So another thing you can do for pressure and playing around with pressure is to also apply an elastic value to the internal lines. You saw that it's at 100 right now. I can also make this, like, I would do max like 98. With the exterior being 100%, it'll help a little bit, and it can also create more of a more wrinkles basically, without applying more pressure. You can also apply this onto the edges of pillows that you've already made as well. And you can also apply these unequally. So if I apply the elastic, let's just say, to just the top and not the bottom. Let me do that. I will have to remove the linking though. So if I want to do anything asymmetrically, I'm going to have to remove linked editing. I can lock my pattern outlines again. And then let's just say I wanted this piece to be, one of them to have more of an elastic than the other. I'm going to do a second one here. Just for the sake of this. I don't normally like to do multiple windows. Just because it does consume more CPU. Maybe I'll close this one. And then I'll just open it when I'm done. Okay, so you can see a little bit that it is more, there are more wrinkles on the bottom here. I'm going to turn off my simulation. Just because I do have an unequal value of elastic now. So that is a little bit of us playing with pressure. But also oftentimes you're going to see for like quilts and things like that, you're actually not going to have a lot of, it's called loft. Let's talk about this for a second. It's called loft. So your batting has the loft, this pressure up here. The amount of pressure is causing the difference. That would be the loft in like batting in real life. So that would be the distance in between of the materials. So because the pressure is creating the loft, you technically don't end up with a lot of like thick batting in real life. You can, but it tends to be the cheaper batting tends to be like the white polyester stuff, and the nicer one tends to be like really thin and really dense. So the last thing I'm going to show you is just the average size loft that you would see. You've kind of seen it already a minute ago, but I'm just going to throw this on the floor. This is still quite large. This is a very large, almost king. How to make a cylindrical lanyard? I don't know what you're asking. Like, you can just sew a tube. Offset his internal line along a curve. You've seen me do this for pleats. We're going to also do this for this quilt. Maybe not 80, but we'll do 60. Oftentimes you'll just see straight lines. Lock all internal lines. We will apply that elastic value of 100 just to keep its shape. And then layer clone over. I'm going to flip my normal again. Can only do that in the 3D window. And we'll give it a... This time I'm going to show you the value pressure. Like, we'll do 5 and then we can go up if we want. Most of the time you're not going to have a lot of pressure in quilt in set pieces. Let me click away. But these pieces are really close together, so let's do... I'm just going to do 20 because sometimes it's easier to go further than you want and then find your way to the middle. Again, this entire kind of stream is about pressure and like pillows and what you can do with pressure. Obviously, you can apply pressure. Oh, are my normals flipped? They're both 20. Okay. There we go. So you can kind of actually see that we're not getting a lot out of this. We have something here, but it's not a lot. It's really, really thin. So that is something to take into account, is how much loft you want, and so that's going to account for how dense your actual pieces are. I'm going to unlock my internal lines, lock my pattern outlines, and then other way around. I'm deleting my internal lines. Unlocking my pattern outlines. We're going to do the same thing, just less dense before we simulate. Offset his internal line along a curve. We did 60, we're going to do 30 now. So this is what it looks like when you don't actually sew them back together. I will actually just do this, layer clone under, and then flip my normal. And then pull it down. Cylindrical tape for hoodie or shoe. Literally, you would just make a tube at that point. Or you can do this, actually. Since it's so thin, just make a tube and layer clone under, or make a rectangle and layer clone underneath it. I don't know if you want, like, if you're looking for lacing, it would just be a tube. It would be just a rectangle that's sewn on both sides, and then you could apply pressure, like you're seeing here. You wouldn't really have to. I would, but it's up to you. Come on. And we can see here, this one looks a lot more familiar to kind of the quilting that you're familiar with, or to whatever else you're kind of looking for. This kind of also kind of looks like roll up like bedding for a like camping, like hiking. I don't know why. Just to give it a bit of an interest, I'm going to offset as internal line. No, I want to... I've done the entire piece. We're going to offset as pattern outline, actually, because I'm lazy. I don't want to deal with that. Making sure to choose create internal line. I'm applying a circumference to this right now. We're not going to do 50, we'll do 100. Just because I do want that border. And then just making sure to select my pieces so they're kind of going in the same direction. Make sure that your lines aren't too crossed. External, my internal lines. Looking pretty good. They're all straight lines. All right, I'm going to simulate. If I can stop flipping, that'd be great. Don't accidentally bring everything underneath the ground. There we go. Now I have a nice little border as well. Okay, it doesn't look like my circumference was sewn. Went the wrong way there. Using the B hotkey reverse. Nope, that's not going to work. That's why we check. Fine, we'll do it this way. And this is also why it is best to sew your items before reverse. Or to put your internal lines before you actually do this. We'll do this one. There we go. Now it's square. Kind of just comes together. There we go. Now I do have kind of a border there. I can also now apply that same elastic trick to these lines. Elastic 100. And then just pull on this guy. And then this border can also kind of help keep things in control with your shaping. Because you'll sometimes see this as well on some quilts. And then if you don't like what this is specifically doing, this is also where you can apply different, you can actually cut these out. Let's just do that since I have a couple minutes left. Let's not. We'll do cut and sew. It's fine. I made changes, but they're linked, so they're linked changes. I do want to still cut and sew, because now they're no longer linked. Cut and sew. Move, grab. And then these items can actually have less pressure, so we can do, let's just do 10. And I can also, just for the sake of this, strengthen if I wanted. We'll just do 20 again, just for the sake of this. This might break some of your sewing, so just keep an eye on that if you are making these cuts. Because it does look like I lost something here. There we go. Now it kind of looks like a life raft. But this is kind of another way to utilize pressure to make bedding and quilts. This is still pretty strong of a pressure. Just for the sake of this, I'm going to make this 5. Sometimes you don't need too much. Sometimes you need a bit more. I feel like 10's a good one for this style. But this was just introduction of making some pillows. I've made some quilts for everybody. I've made the crazy octagon. It's not an octagon. I'm going to call it a notagon because I didn't count. Shape. But technically is a pillow. And I showed you how to make wrinkles on top of that without having to simulate it any further. Just don't make it, you know, too big for your workspace. Control H. So, you know, so here's my simple little blanket here. I could also just remove any pressure from these pieces too, for example. 0. And have it be flat while the rest of this is has some pressure to it. Yeah. So that is it. I know it's not the most entertaining stream, but I did just make a bunch of things involving pressure because I'm not going to be using pressure in the next couple of videos. So check, we will send out an email blast, I believe. We will send out, I'll make a new channel in the Discord for the streams coming up this next week. And this next week I'll make the announcement. The streams are not coming up technically this next week. It'll be next Wednesday. Next Wednesday will be the first one. So technically, by the end of the week, I'll have the new channel for the stream for the beginner tutorials. They will be follow along style. So to explain a little bit more, I'm going to be doing I'll be doing it twice. For the first hour of the stream, I'm going to do the entire whatever we're making during that stream once. The second hour, I'm going to do it a second time. Follow along if you want. Watch it first if you want. Ask questions as we're going. I can repeat it a second time, which is why I'm doing it this way. I'll repeat everything I've done a second time and continue to answer questions in that second half as well. Just in case you've missed something, just in case you didn't understand something. That's why I'm doing them twice in a row. They are still going to be like, you know, the 2-hour-ish streams, but they will be repeated twice just in case you've missed something. So it's going to be a little bit different from just me making something and going over concepts of things like that. So for example, like the first stream will be making a pattern block from scratch and what to look out for. And you can follow along as we do it. And then I'm going to do it a second time in case you have questions, in case something didn't turn out. People can ask questions during that stream. And I'm going to encourage people to specifically ask questions and then kind of share their work in the Discord. We will also have assets that are going to be, you can choose to download them or not at the very least. We'll be adding some logos to a shirt the second event. So I'll be sharing everything that you need. We will make available, aside from if you don't have Marvelous Designer yet, check out Marvelous Designer on our website. You can get a free 30-day trial. So if you're interested in Marvelous Designer and you haven't used it before, now's going to be a great time to actually try out that 30-day free trial, and you'll get that full tutorial set that you can follow along with. So join the Discord channel. At the very least, I will make a new channel there for everyone to discuss that stream, get their items as well. We'll make it available in different places. But that's where I will be focusing on sharing information for the stream. So thank you guys for joining me. I know it wasn't like amazing, but I'm not going to be able to play with pressure for a while. So that is why I did make a bunch of the crazy pillows here today. But next week, we are starting the beginner tutorials. So if you are brand new to Marvelous Designer, now's going to be the time to jump in on those streams and try to follow along as I'm doing them. And you can ask questions live as it's happening. So yes, I will share the events for that in the Discord channels and here on YouTube as well. So we'll have it prepared for you. So thank you all for joining us again. And I hope you learned at least a little bit about pressure today. And I'm just gonna be like, thank you. Oh, thank you guys for joining me today. I'm gonna go and start editing the Discord channel. So I'll see you guys later next week, hopefully. Raptor screeches. All right. I will see you guys next week, and it'll